But let's actually go look specifically at the translators themselves. We see here in this page how Dmitry in the Russian of a document is 86% done. He's had 344 sentences out of 1,457 that people have agreed with his edits. 2 of them have disagreed. We see then that Tatiana has 52 have agreed with her sentences, whether or not they're the same ones. But she's had 7 that disagree. And then we can see that Anna down here has had 10 disagree with her, and no one's agreed with her work so far. So we can see how the good translators bubble up to the top. Well, let's jump back then, now that we've seen how that works. Let's go to that automatic quote finder. This is just a screenshot with some of my own notes on it, pointing out that when we clicked on this sentence down here that says in English, we can't see that behind there, but it says beginning times for making, beginnings are good times probably for making resolutions. When I clicked on that, it showed here that this sentence is found as quoted in other documents. It's actually quoted from Always in the Middle by President Uchtdorf, and it's translated in 8 languages. Of course, that number would be higher because this is actually live test data. So we can accept that. It goes straight in as part of the archive. Not the archive, it goes from the archive into the actual document. So this is just a diagram of what's happening. If we took this paragraph from Always in the Middle to put it into this new document called Facing the Future with Hope by Elder Tejera, it brings in all the translations from that one sentence, associates it with this new document, and for future, if that document ever needs to be updated to the original one, Always in the Middle, then it will actually filter through other documents, so as they're republished or even live, that they'll be updated automatically. So we see that we're saving a ton of time. So the other things to consider then, that when we have an index in books, that PenSpring can be adjusted to handle not only the translation of that index but also the page numbering automatically where those new references fall, because as translation is done, it's going to push off definitions to other pages that need to be updated in the index. So we can consider that for the future, that can be updated. Also, when the native language English is being updated, it'll warn the author that that document already has so many translations done, and asking the author if that's a change that the translators need to revisit. So the translators then can be notified. PenSpring automatically manages that, so when the translator goes, they have a list of where they need to go. They choose the next one in line. It jumps to that chapter or to that section, to that sentence, highlights it, and they're ready to retranslate it. And of course they have the original language there to compare with as well. So also PenSpring can manage for billing. We can keep track of time, if not by sentence, of all the work that's been done on piece rate. So that can manage automatically for all the billing of the translators that are not just volunteer contributors. The other advantage to PenSpring is there is not any additional programs to purchase. That the translators in different countries can just use this web-enabled PenSpring, which we've already seen works in different browsers, and the interface is already in 50 languages. So we can see then that they can work with it with instructions in their language and be able to facilitate the work that they have to do. So with all that, I'm sure there's additional details, but I think what we've gone through is we've seen how the editors work sentence by sentence together. They can see each other's work, not have to duplicate the work that is done already, and that's the editing process, or even translation process, of course. For publishing, we see how the language translations and the completion is done, or how the editors or translators are doing compared to one another. But it manages all the documents separately. Oh, and we didn't even mention this, that PenSpring does manage like the groups of translators, that the editing or managing editor can set how, well, pretty much the workload. So if a new document comes in, it automatically can detect that Dimitri is next in line to receive a document because he's getting his work finished. And so it will manage that automatically. And so that can be turned on or off by the managing editor in case it wants to go automatic. Managing editor can turn it off in case they want to see each document, see what's entailed, and assign it to the best translator for the situation. So we have user management, we have open community translation, and the latest and greatest has been the InDesign being able to literally upload directly into PenSpring, which will take the IDML file, split up that zip file, take each section which is organized throughout the InDesign document for the text box, or not the text box, but the little separated, accentuated box of a phrase, the headers, page numbers, all those things that can be translated separately. And at the end, when you go to that report of all the documents and you want to publish that, say, the first phase, here there'll be a button provided. Click on that. It'll automatically create all of those languages that are complete with their separate InDesign file that can be called up by the InDesign managing or finishing editor to have everything translated in place. And all they need to do is be able to peruse the work done, adjust the text or maybe some sizes possibly to fit in just right, and the work is done. So PenSpring then, with its efficiency, should streamline the entire process for editing any kind of document coming in, Word, WordPerfect, or OpenOffice, and now InDesign, and be able to edit, translate, and export straight in. So then you can use your publishing software to publish to the various finished products like web, iPhone, and print. Before I lose your attention, as a post-demo review, I just found that there's 2 or 3 other details that would be interesting for you to know. That the open document editing that you see here may not always be the most efficient or the most direct or what the translator is used to. There's a switch up here called manual sentence translation. If we click on that, the whole document entirely is called up, split up sentence by sentence again, and then they're able to have separate editors. You see here, separate editors for each sentence they want to work with. So once again, the tools are all the same on the right side. Different translation options are available. In fact, I suspect even under this machine translation option we might have a preferred church and doctrine preferred sentence that we've established that we'd want that to be used as priority. We may have maybe 2 different machine translation options, or looking at our own database library of translations, be able to choose from one of those as well. So that is in addition to any contributions, any contributors' sentences. So that's manual sentence translation. But notice also the other switch is to enter a comment. When you're on a sentence, you can enter comment, save it, and it becomes part of the record of the sentence. See, where we go. So we have a sentence comment as well, and it's also marked as comment. And the other option up here, which doesn't look really good. is the show editors versions. So we see we have two other editors that have worked on this. We can click on show editors versions and have that show up on the right side of the screen, so you can actually read without, well, I guess there might be track changes, which I think you can turn on or off, but then you're able to see how a translator did in particular, and if that may be consistent then of our reports that that particular editor is really good and all their edits, well, you might want to reject a couple, maybe 2 or 3, but then accept all the rest of them. So they're very quick in accepting, so you don't have to go truly accept one by one. So just additional edits, or not edits, but different details related to PenSpring, and there's many more, but we wouldn't want to overwhelm with too many details that may or may not be useful for our more interesting features.